In this video, I'm going to show you how to maximize your chances of getting a new job as a software engineer. My name is Troy and I'm currently a full-time software engineer and part-time photographer. I started my career as a web developer in 2011 and I've been interviewing engineers since about 2015. In that time, I've held just about every position there is between junior engineer and engineering manager. This is what I find to be the best approach whether you're trying to get your first job coding or level up from one position to the next. I've seen a lot of different paths into careers in software. It's pretty common for people to start off with a 4-year degree in computer science, maybe do an internship, and then start at a junior level position and work their way up from there. However, many of the most talented and successful people I've ever worked with came from very different levels of experience, education, and background. I say this to point out that your journey does not need to be the traditional one, and it's okay for your path to be completely different from everybody else. For the best chance of getting the job you're looking for, I believe there's really only 4 steps you need to master. Get the interview, prepare for the interview, perform during the interview, and take action after the interview. Each of these is just as important as the other, and there's no reason to not be practicing at least one of the steps right now, even if you're not in an active job search. But since you clicked on the video, I'll just assume you are. We should first talk a little bit about what the usual hiring process is for software engineers. If you're already familiar, feel free to skip ahead to the next section of the video, but I recommend sticking around because every company is a little bit different. In most cases, when you submit your resume to a company, it's ending up in some giant inbox that's going to get screened. Someone from the company, usually from HR, is going to go through this inbox and look for resumes that roughly match the job requirements. I say roughly because someone from HR might not exactly be in tune with what's going on any given software team, so they might be casting a little bit of a wider net. When the screener finds a resume they like, they'll reach out to the candidate and schedule the first interview. This interview is usually a call of some sort and is just another step in the screening process where the interviewer will ask you some basic questions about your background. They'll tell you a little bit about the company and in general try to make sure you're not lying on your resume and that you're not an axe-murdering psychopath. Oftentimes, this meeting is with a human resources person, but it could be with a manager or both, and it could involve some type of aptitude test. Just know, you'll likely need to pass some kind of screening before you're invited to a more technical interview where you'll be answering more detailed questions and likely coding live in front of other software engineers who are assessing your performance. Impressing this group of people will be really how you get the job offer. So your first challenge in getting the job is going to be getting an interview. How do you get your resume noticed so that you get that first callback? As someone who's been in the hiring role, when I'm looking at resumes, I'm looking for one thing and one thing only: experience. Yeah, the list of skills on your resume need to align with the job requirements generally, but what's really going to sell me is understanding your level of experience with each of those skills. And if this is your first job, you're probably thinking, dude, I don't have any experience yet, that's why I need a job. Well, the thing is, experience isn't just work history. Experience is what have you done and what are you doing now that shows that you would be a good fit for the role. The answer to that question is what's going to fill out your resume. And if the answer is different from one company to the next, make sure you change your resume before you send it out so that it matches the specific job you're going for. Here's a few examples of what you could show on your resume that isn't recent job history. Relevant education. This could be a computer science degree, but it could also be a coding bootcamp or certifications like AWS and Oracle, to name a few at random. The point is, your educational background doesn't just show that you know specific things, but that you had the ability to learn and perform them. That's what's really valuable here. Have personal projects. If you don't have one, make a GitHub account right now, it's totally free, and go build something. Maybe build a small app based off of something that you learned in a code bootcamp, or contribute to an open source project of your choosing. Not only will you learn valuable skills from doing these personal projects, but they are demonstrable work that can serve as great conversation pieces during your interview. Internship. Internships are a fantastic way to start building professional relationships and real-world work experience, arguably the 2 most important things you'll need throughout your career, especially early on. Most internships pay surprisingly well, lead directly to a titled position, and are the kind of experience you're not likely to get before your first engineering title elsewhere. Have your own company. I know it could sound a little ridiculous to say have your own company before trying to get a job, but hear me out. I'm not suggesting that you start a consulting firm. If you have, fantastic. But if you've ever done something like freelance coding, you can list this on your resume. Imagine for a second you're a hiring manager and you've got a candidate in front of you who've taught themselves how to code, they have some personal projects, and they've been doing freelance work on the side where they've had to communicate effectively with clients, gather requirements, meet deadlines, and budget their time. Those are all skills that everyone is desperate to have on their team. So if you got it, make sure you write that one down too. When it comes to resumes, list everything that's relevant to the position you're trying to land, and only list what's relevant. After doing so, if you're looking at your resume and you're thinking to yourself that it still looks kind of empty, try working on some of the things that I talked about in this section and list those. The worst thing that could happen is you learn something new and practice some new skills. Okay, so you've gotten all your experience recorded nice and neat on your resume. In fact, you've gone out of your way to do a few more personal projects just so you boost your appeal on paper, and there's no way you won't get that call back. Now what? Well, you gotta prepare for the interviews. There's two categories you need to practice before you go into any interview, and that's soft skills and technical skills. Soft skills are the skills that relate to how you work. So this is communication, listening, and interpersonal skills. A lot of candidates fail here more than you might think. If it comes down to it, your ability to communicate, listen, and relate to the interviewers better than the other candidates might be the reason that you're the one who gets the job offer. My best advice for this is to do mock interviews. You can set these up with friends and family, and what you're going to do is practice answering common interview questions. You could even Google software interview questions and have your partner ask you those. After you give your answers, ask your partner how they think you did. They might not know if you answered everything correct, but do you sound nervous? Did you get stuck answering a question? Did you trip over your words? Etc., etc. Find these things out, work on them, and try it again. The goal here is to get more comfortable talking about yourself and build an idea of how to respond to questions so that you're more confident in the real interview. Even if you aren't asked any of these questions exactly, the extra confidence will help with any question that you're asked. Another tip is to write down ahead of time questions that you would like to ask your interviewer. Think about what you might want to know about the company culture, the team that you'll be working with, maybe the code stack or any other topic that interests you so that you can ask the interviewers. This will show that you have a genuine interest in the company you're applying to, but even more importantly, it will help you identify if it's the right job for you. Okay, now let's talk about practicing technical skills. There's an infinite number of ways to prepare for a technical interview, so you'll have to experiment a little bit here to find out what works best for you. There's a ton of great online tools like hackerrank.com and leetcode.com that are available for you to practice and learn different algorithms and data structures. And the problems are typically presented in the same way that they would be in a technical interview. Personally, I like a textbook workflow, and I recommend the books Cracking the Coding Interview and one called System Design Interview as fantastic resources as well. And actually, just like with soft skills, the ultimate hack is to find someone who can do a mock technical interview with you if you can. This might be a little bit harder to arrange because you're going to need someone who knows a little bit more computer science. But there's also a ton of online tools for this too if you look around. Have someone present you a word problem from HackerRank or LeetCode or whatever, and try to solve it with them in 30 minutes. Not only are you going to be practicing your algorithm skills, but you're also recreating the stressful environment that interviews have. And knowing what that feels like can help you keep your cool when it's for real. Once you've passed your screening interviews and you've done all your preparation, it's time to perform during the actual interview. The best advice I can give on how to perform well during an interview where you're asked to write code is the following. Step 1, reread the question and repeat your understanding back to your interviewer. You don't want to start off with a misunderstanding of what's being asked. You'll waste a lot of time, and if the interviewer isn't kind enough to stop you, you'll be doomed from the start. 2, ask questions. Treat the interview as if you're working with the interviewer in a professional space. Ultimately, it's on you to provide the solution, but there's no reason that they can't help you validate assumptions you're making along the way. This way you don't get too far ahead of yourself. And plus, as an interviewer, it's really valuable to understand your thought process. Be honest. If during the interview you don't understand something, let the interviewer know. The worst thing you could possibly do is pretend that you know something that you don't. If you can talk about what you're trying to do, the interviewer might be able to help you get there. Look, they had to interview to get the position that they're currently in, and they know that interviewing is kind of a stressful situation sometimes. They also know that Google exists, and in the real world, if you knew what you wanted to do but forgot how to do it, you'd probably just Google it. which would be a good thing. Think before you code. As coders, sometimes when the pressure is on, our comfort zone is to start typing as soon as we understand the question. But please, take a second to pause and document your solution. I recommend having a pen and paper handy, or maybe you can just use some pseudocode, comments, or an iPad, whatever's more your style. Figure out what your approach is first. Talk about your approach with the interviewer, and they might even tell you what they think about it. The last thing you want to be doing is wasting time trying to debug an implementation that was never going to work anyways because it was the wrong solution. If I could sum up all of that advice into one key phrase, it would be take your time. Not every interviewer is going to be as friendly and as helpful as we would like them to be, but slowing down and checking your work as you go will be your key to avoiding mistakes and performing well during the interview. Okay, so after you crush your interview, you might be thinking, thank God, the work is over, time to cross my fingers and hope I get a job offer. But there's no real reason to stop your efforts here. The first thing I recommend doing is sending an email to the people who interviewed you. This is a great way to show your gratitude for their time and restate your interest in the company. Something short and polite like, "Dear interviewer person, it was a pleasure to meet with you and your team today. I enjoyed learning more about the process and culture at company XYZ, and am looking forward to hearing back from you. Thank you so much for your time. Best regards, your name here." After you do this, repeat the entire process. Continue your job search and continue working on your skills and your experience. If you get the job, awesome. But if you don't, you haven't been wasting your time waiting around for a response that you don't know when it's going to come. And now you're ahead of the game on the next one. Make getting a job your job. The reality is that you might not get the first offer that you interview for, and that doesn't always mean that you screwed something up. There's a ton of reasons why you might not get an offer right away. You might be at a level that the company isn't ready to hire right now, meaning that you might be too junior or too senior for the available position and salary that they're offering. The company might feel as though that you demonstrated skills that would be a great fit, but for the team that doesn't have an opening right now, and not the team that you interviewed for. In that case, the email that you sent might be the bridge you need to be contacted in the future once that position does open up. Don't be surprised if you get an email in a month that says, "Hey person, we have a position on our XYZ team that we think you would be a great fit for. Are you still in the market for a new job?" If every interaction you have throughout your job search is a positive one, and you keep those bridges of opportunity open, you'll find that before you know it, you'll have more job offers in your inbox than you can ever handle. To summarize this video, just remember the following. Get the interview by working on your skills and experience. There's a ton of things you can do, such as personal projects that will boost your resume when you're looking for your very first job. Prepare for the interview by knowing what you're going to say and by doing exercises like mock interviews and online coding challenges. Soft skills are just as important as technical skills. Perform during the interview by slowing down and avoiding careless mistakes. Bring a pen and paper with you to draft your solutions, and don't waste time debugging things that won't work. And finally, take action after the interview by building bridges with the people you've met so far, and then restart the entire process over from step one. Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope this video was helpful. If you have any suggestions or tips on job searching, please leave a comment below. I'd love to hear your ideas. If you like this video, please hit the like button and share it with a friend. And please subscribe for more. See ya.